You guys know how, on the internet, when someone in the comment section says,
"That car sucks, I would have done it this way,"
and then proceeds to describe a weird engine swap that nobody does in real life because it's dumb.
I'm not dumb, I'm smart.
Well, this Texas Lemons team decided to actually do that totally weird swap, and here's how it went.
Now, back in 2020, this group of car buddies, who eventually called themselves Schadenfreude Racing, which is a fantastic name, they're poking around on the internet and they see this Craigslist ad. The Craigslist ad basically says, race car, not running, must go $400, you buy now! Turns out the car, it's a 79 320i, it's got a roll cage of some type, and the team goes, MSR at that race is like 6 weeks away. Let's do it, let's have a deadline.
Now, just as a word of warning, this team found out quickly that the roll cage needed some updates to meet Lemon's rules. Smartly, on their part, they emailed us with pictures of this cage to see what, if any, changes were necessary. Everybody buying a car with the cage should do that. We got back to them, we told them what they needed to update, and they did it.
Now, miraculously, they got this car to run like the day that they picked it up, and they said, well, what could possibly go wrong? They saw there was an open track day going on at MSR, and they just hauled the car there, and they started driving around. And guess what? They totally blew up the motor. Now, they knew they weren't going to put in another BMW engine because, honestly, why would you, right? And it just so happened they have all this experience with rock crawlers that they have been converting to Mercedes 5-cylinder diesels. Specifically, the vaunted OM617, which I had in a Mercedes station wagon, and it's awesome.
No shit.
Let me just say, if there's one thing I learned driving that sow of a Mercedes 300 TD with a 67 horsepower engine is it should go road racing.
Yeah, so this project wasn't really about what might work on paper, and it was more about what do we know about and what do we have lying around from other projects. According to their team captain, he says making the parts go together without just using your Visa card is part of the fun.
So lying around, they had this giant boat anchor 5-cylinder Mercedes diesel. It had originally come out of a 300 SD that was submerged in Hurricane Harvey, so you know it's good. They also had a CD009 Nissan 6-speed. They found that in the back of a Nissan shop, and it had "bad" written on it in Sharpie, so you know that's also good.
As you might have guessed, there's no off-the-shelf installation kit for mating a Nissan 6-speed to a Mercedes diesel motor and then installing it in a BMW, so they fabricated their own adapter and mounts, and then they went to the parts pile again for a Ford 88 diff from a 89 Thunderbird, and they made that work with the BMW rear suspension. Then they added Volvo brake calipers, Mini Cooper brake rotors, some extra heavy-duty front springs from I don't know what to handle the weight of the motor, and at that point the car, I guess, was ready.
Now, needless to say, I'm sure there still are, various bugs to a project like that, but fundamentally, they were out there going around the track, and in fact, they were doing really well at MSR 23 when their worst mechanical incident happened, which was just a blown head gasket, aka this.
Uh-oh. I think we just blew a radiator hose or something.
Okay, come in.
Yep. Coming in.
But because they've been working on these terrible giant-ass boat anchor motors for so long, they had it swapped in record time. New head gasket went in, they were back on the track. They won a heroic fix for that.
So what's the performance like? Well, the team's got the wastegate set to 26 PSI. Which they figure makes 120 horsepower, but the torque, they think it might be as much as 280 pounds-feet. That's the real diesel attraction. Well, that rolling coal.
Now that T-Bird diff, it had 273 gears, so this thing is not a jackrabbit car, but it only weighs 2,400 pounds. It gets up to speed and it just stays there and it goes around and around the track. Now, it turns out their fastest lap, like at NOLA, that was 20 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race, right? But this is endurance racing, and this is a Mercedes diesel, and it endures. So that fast lap team, they beat them by like 17 laps at the end of the race.
Yeah, at that same race, Schadenfreude Racing was also in contention for the Class C win, and at one point, the BMW was running second in Class C but crapped out on track and needed to be towed. Well, fortunately for them, the Class C leader, who was also on the same lap, was also being towed at the same time, and Schadenfreude's tow truck passed the other tow truck for position in class. They took the lead. It was one of the greatest moments in Lemon's history.
Not only did Schadenfreude's tow truck outpace the other guys, they got that car back out on track first. They were 25th overall in this thing. That earned them the top prize index of effluency.
Now, this is one of those projects that's probably never 100% done. Next on their list is replacing that Nissan transmission. You know, it turns out that Sharpie was right, but fundamentally the whole contraption works pretty well. So the next time you're on the internet and you see some guy suggest a dumb swap, tell him, build it for Lemons.
Every second you don't subscribe or watch one of these videos, another Vega is sent to the crusher. Won't you help us save Classic?